Hello everyone. So I received permission to show you some of the process of finalizing the line art for Meredith Finch's comic book series called Rose. You can see I have issue 1 right here, which is awesome. The story is so good and the art inside is incredible, and I am drawing Drucilla, who is the evil queen, and I'm doing this outfit, which is really fun to draw. There's a lot of cool things going on with her outfit, and I'm really excited to finalize the line art. And so I sent in a layout, and that was approved, and then I worked on the sketch, and so here's the sketch, and then from that I've transferred it via Lightbox onto an 11 by 17, and you can see some of my lighter transfer lines, and now I'm going to be doing the final line art. And so here are the pencils that I'm working with, and so you can follow along if you'd like to. So for the most part I use a 0.3 millimeter pencil. This is for brushing away eraser shavings, and then I have a bunch of erasers that I work with too. So, time to get started. Now I pretty much have the basic of the lines that I want to place down, but still I'll probably be working on it, changing my mind in certain places. The thing that's really cool about this outfit is that her cloth is kind of going all over the place and almost has a life of its own. So I'm having tons of fun just drawing all this wild cloth everywhere. And then this emblem was something that you see in her castle in a number of places, so I thought it would be fun to put that in. So here I'm just drawing, this is where her shoulder muscle attaches to her bicep, and so it dips in, so that's kind of where the cloth would dip and be a bit more bunched up and start going backwards, since the cloth and the wind is pulling it backwards. And I'm kind of having her in a little bit of a tornado effect. So the cloth, because it kind of has a life of its own in the comic book and it floats up into different places, I'm not really staying true to where exactly the wind would be blowing. It's sort of going in every direction, which makes the piece be able to have a lot more energy, and I can show some flow, but then also just kind of break the rules in a bunch of places, which is really fun. Hi, Sean! So I have the thicker pencils. This one is a 0.3 millimeter, this one's a 0.5, and this one is a 0.9, and I use them depending on what I need at the time. Oh, thank you, Sean. Hey Dan, I'm doing great, thank you. Today's my the last day, full day that I have for work. Well, not quite full, but tomorrow my kids are all out of school, so I'm trying to get the final line art off for flats before I color it, and I'll kind of take my time coloring it over the holidays. As you know, it's nice to have a few things to do. I'll probably chip away at a couple commissions too, but then also, you know, my kids are home and it's the holiday break, so I want to make sure that, you know, I'm having a good amount of family time too. So this is my last actual deadline I have before the end of the year, which is going to be fun. I'm so excited to work on this comic book cover. I've enjoyed any interaction I've had with Meredith. She's so nice. And the comic book series is really awesome. So if you guys aren't following it, I highly recommend that you do. So I'm going to be turning the page every so often so that the direction is the best for me as far as where my hand goes. So I've got this little flap of cloth going back this way, so I need to make sure that it's turning properly, and then the next one down is catching the wind a little bit more but kind of angling downward, and then there's another big piece of cloth that's going to be going over her back shoulder. And I have a folded piece of paper right here just to rest my hand on so that body heat or, you know, any smudging from my glove that I wear doesn't affect the actual artwork and the real paper. Oh, good morning, Corey. Thank you. Now I don't want to go too far down before I finish the things up here, or I'll start smudging this. So that's why I'm going to kind of stop what I'm doing now and go over here and try to finish those so that my hand is not ever really resting on completed art. Oh, thank you, Paul. Yeah, she sometimes she has actual pupils and everything like that, and then sometimes when she's really doing her magic energy, her pupils disappear and her eyes glow blue. So I'm gonna do, Meredith agreed that I should leave her without the pupils and go for the glowing blue eyes in the color. So that's gonna be really fun. What kind of pen are you using? Corey asks. I'm using a very cheap pencil, but I love it. It's a Alvin Draft Tech, and I can see that I've smudged off or worn off all the writing on it, but I do know that it's Alvin brand, Alvin, and it's just their $6 mechanical pencil, and this is a 0.3 millimeter with, I believe, HB lead, I think. Oh, I'm glad you agree, Paul. So these are the bunches where her shoulder meets her, oh man, I can't remember what the muscles are called that go from the neck to the shoulder. My husband will be just so disappointed in me. Okay, but this whole neck part comes down into a V in the back, in her upper back, and from what I can tell, it looks like it's more leather, and then this stuff is cloth. So I'm doing these ones in more kind of bunchy cut leather-like stiffer material, and then this stuff all attaches onto the leather, and it's cloth. So they're going to be in like smaller bits and a little bit thinner looking material. At least that's my plan. Traps, yes. Thank you, Corey. I thought that might be it. Now this is kind of inking, but with a pencil. So I'm not actually going to ink this. I'm going to take these lines, scan them, adjust the levels a little bit just to get rid of any of the gray and make it all black, and then color it from there. And there's a seam in her neck piece that goes down the center, so doing that. Whoever designed this outfit was a genius. It's awesome. I love it. Okay, now to clean up little bits, this is a Mono Zero eraser by Tombow. You can get it on Amazon, and it has a very small round barrel eraser on it. They also sell a flat barrel. I just personally like the round barrel more. And you can get in and clean up any little tiny, basically ghost lines from my transfer that I don't want to show up in the scan. So I'm just cleaning it up, and then I use just any paintbrush I have, and this one happens to be a Sumi brush, which is awesome because it's got a nice little tip, and I don't generally use the big artist brush eraser except for cleaning off my desk because this will very, very lightly smudge everything on your paper, and I don't like to do that. So I use one that just gets the spots that I need to clean up, and then I'm not smudging everything all the time. Okay, so here I have these lines down at the bottom because I want to show where her traps, thank you, Corey, and where it goes into her shoulder muscle, but then also make it clear that she has cloth going over it. So that's why I'm keeping some lines to show the direction of her arm, but then also showing some fold lines for the cloth as well, so that you know where her arm is going and it doesn't just disappear, but then at the same time it tells you that there's cloth going over her shoulder as well. Hi, Scott and Corey. No, I don't really feel that I get any eye strain. If anything, I get arm and shoulder strain. Yes, I do grip the pencil, and I've always done that since I was a kid. I do not hold my pencil lightly at all, and I wish I could change that, but for some reason I grip my pencil so tight that like my finger, I'll have a big indentation, I get calluses on my hands, and it gives me a lot of like forearm pain, but there's nothing I could seem to do to change that. Thank you, Derek. You'll be able to see the final in June of 2018, and when the piece is released. But Meredith very graciously gave me permission to stream a little bit of my process. I won't be able to stay here for the full completion of it because I need to pick up my kids from school, but at least I can show you some of it. Something I'm going to have to get used to is that the camera is kind of right in my way, or my phone to film, so I need to get used to working a little further away from my paper than I usually do, which reminds me I should really put on my glasses, as then I can see. Time to see! But yes, that I'm working a little further away than I usually do. I usually am like nose to the paper, gripping my pencil really tight, all very intense. So this is good. It's going to help me have better posture to use the camera because it forces me to keep my head out of the way. Hi, Bill. All right, so now I'm going to do this curl of cloth right here, which I kind of picture is coming more from the front. So she has the cloth kind of goes over her shoulders and then comes down over her chest and arms, and it comes apart in little straps and tears almost. See, it's got like little holes in it and stuff. So this one is coming from in front of her shoulder, which is why I didn't do any connecting lines right here to her shoulder, because it's coming from the other side. Just tape the phone to your forehead. Thanks, David. Yeah, maybe I should. Or get one of those GoPros so it's on my forehead. But then you guys would get sick, because every time I look over to see your comments on my iPad, I'd be moving my head around and be like, oh my God, Dawn, stay still. So I've got the cloth turning in a couple ways, so I need to have the folds going over and going in different directions. Cloth is a whole thing. It's something I don't know if I'll ever feel that I've completely mastered, but you got to do it anyway. Dan asks if my hands are cold. No, it helps prevent smudges, and so I always wear some kind of fingerless glove when I work. Oh, thank you, Jason Webb. You made it to 1, Nick! Yay! Okay, so I made a little bit of a mess when I was transferring. Oh, thank you, Joseph. Hi from Hungary. Hello to Hungary. Okay, so now it curls again. Alrighty. Here, just for fun, let me see if I have my, oh, I don't have it. Oh yes. If you guys want, I can show you how I do the transfer. So underneath here, I'm going to turn on my light table. You can see that's the sketch. So I blow it up, and maybe if I turn off this. Yeah, okay. So that's the sketch underneath, and I draw the sketch at 8.5 by 11, and then I blow it up on the computer, and I put in all the different guidelines so that I know this is the part that won't get cut off on the printing. This is the bleed margin. So anywhere between this line and the exterior line that I have on my board could potentially be cut off. So you keep all the important things that you want in the safety zone. And that's how you set up a comic book cover. So I've transferred it to board, so I just lightly trace my lines onto the bigger board, and then I work on the final line art, just so you guys can see. All right, sketch goes away. Oh, I'm glad you like it, and it's fun to show you the process, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Trade secrets. Oops, I bumped the camera. Sorry, guys. Rosa, hello from the US. Hello! Thank you. I'm so glad you like my work. I really appreciate it. What's the weather like in Calgary? Oh my God, it's -21. Dang! We just had a giant snowfall, so the roads are crazy right now. Just going to pick up my kids is an adventure and trying not to get stuck. I think it's like -10 here, so it's really not that bad. Sorry about the -21, that's aggressive. No, thank you, Michael Keynes. That's so kind of you. So far, I've only streamed commissions. So this is, I got permission to actually stream working on what will be a published piece. So this is really exciting. I'm glad I get to show you guys the process of the final line art. And this is just how I do it. There's I'm not saying what I'm doing is the best way or anything like that. It's just for now, this is what works for me. You ordered way up on my issue, Amy. Oh, yay, thank you. Yep, I guess you guys will see what the final cover looks like in June. Whoop, whoop. Okay, yeah, a piece of paper, it really helps. I've been doing that for years and years, and I just use like random scrap paper that, you know, I had an old layout on or something, and just use the clean side and fold it under your hand. And as far as the gloves, Brad Chiavera asks, I don't know. I find that it really helps, you know, and it's just what works for you. If it gets in your way or makes you feel like it's slipping and sliding, then definitely don't use it. Technically, the ones I'm wearing aren't even art gloves. I just got them off of Sock Dreams, which is a store that has a lot of stuff I buy, and they're just arm warmers technically, which is great because it's freezing here. And then also, I don't know, I've just been doing it for years and years, and so for me it feels more comfortable. But if it doesn't for you, then, you know, this is certainly not anything you have to do. Oh, thank you, Anne. I'm glad you enjoy seeing the works in progress. Sorry guys, if the camera jiggles, it's because I've bumped it with my forehead. All right, for filling in bigger areas, I'm switching to the 0.9 millimeter pencil. It just does better at filling in spots. So I left a little peekaboo hole right here in the different flaps just to again show where her arm is going. Otherwise you just kind of have a phantom elbow showing up out of nowhere. Oh, Michael's asking, she looks like Storm. Maybe right now, but her hair is blue and, you know, it's a very different character. She is Drucilla from the comic book series by Meredith Finch, called Rose, and it's published by Image Comics, and you can get it at your local comic book store. And the story is awesome, the art inside is crazy good, and yeah, it's definitely worth picking up, and you can just order it through your local comic book store. So this is the longer portion of her cloak. So because it's a big, big strap, I'm again using my big old chubby 0.9. And I'm making it so it's going from her back, and this is probably breaking some rules, but it's going from her back and twirling around and then swirling behind her. We're gonna go dramatic on this one. Oh, thank you, Robert. I'm so glad you enjoyed my sketchbook and it arrived yesterday. Yay! Thank you. Thanks for ordering it. That was awesome of you. With art, you make the rules. So again, these lines are showing the turn that's going to be happening from her back all the way to the other side. And so using a thicker pencil for these portions that do need to be thicker, stronger, bolder lines, it goes faster to use a 0.9. Oh, have fun Christmas shopping, Corey. Have a great day. Oh, thank you, Christopher, for collecting books that have my work on them. That is so awesome. I'm glad you enjoy it, and I'm definitely very fortunate that I've had the opportunity to work on so many awesome publishers and creators series, and it's always an honor to be able to draw a character that someone has very lovingly and thoughtfully created. It's really an awesome thing to see how creators can create these characters and the thought they put into them and the personalities they give them. It's really quite amazing. And it's so fun to get to draw them. So I've got my fingernail pressing on the paper just because it can start to, it's not warping, but it isn't firmly on the page. And so I'm just kind of holding it down a little bit with my nail so that it doesn't smudge with my finger. And that helps the paper not kind of come up a little bit whenever I'm drawing. Okay, I need to switch to a thinner one now. Should you get a light table? Yes, I've pretty much always used a light table, and it definitely helps for cleaning up your work, for sure. So I did a sketch of this one, and as you can see, it's really not as tidy. There's a lot of eraser marks, there's a lot of smudges, and you just keep it loose to get all the art in where you want it to be. And then I scan it once it's approved. So that's my sketch to get approved, and then once it's approved, you scan it, you blow it up to 11 by 17, because in my case that's the size I work with, and then transfer it so that the paper's clean and you can do clean line art, because yeah, it's really hard to go from sketch to final without a light table. And the light table I'm using is called Huon. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see. Yes. Okay, so that's the light table I use. I got it off of Amazon, and it's very affordable and really, really awesome. And then just pick the size you want. You're going to Amazon to get an 11 by 17 one. That's awesome. I hope you really like it. They're really good, and the nice thing about it is the on and off switch is touch sensitive, so you can adjust the brightness just by touch, and so it can get a low brightness so that you can kind of see what you're doing while being able to see what's underneath. Because if you have the light on full blast, and a lot of light tables only have an on and an off switch. Either it's really bright and in your face, or it's off, and that's not helpful. So this one you can kind of set it at like 50%, and that's kind of where I work at it. I mean, I'm not sure if it's exactly 50%, but more or less, because it's just with the touch button. So that you can see through the paper and you can see onto the sketch that you have underneath, but it's still not so bright that you can actually see the paper that you're currently working on as well, and that's really helpful, so that you're not just kind of working blind and tracing random lines all over the place. So I think it really helps to have one that you can adjust the brightness. I'm sure there's other brands too. I'm not saying that this is the one you have to get, but it's worth giving this one a shot, or something similar. Oh, I'm so happy to hear it was packaged well. That's awesome. Please tell your wife I'm grateful for her compliment. Oh, and it's my pleasure. If there's anything I've learned along the way that I can share, that's what I'm here for. It looks like my internet's starting to be weird. Sorry, guys. Thanks, Michael. Okay, I realized that line was kind of too high to be following the proper direction. Now I am going to leave, this is mostly just for me in the coloring, I am going to leave a very light halo of where her back and her traps and whatever, her back muscles, and where it connects to her tricep, and then the whole back of her arm. I'm going to leave a little halo of them here just in case I put some form behind her, because what's happening is on this emblem that's behind her, it's going to be glowing, which means technically we might be able to see a little silhouette of her body through, and it would almost be like a lit peekaboo right here in the cloth. So I'm just leaving these here for myself in the coloring. I'm just putting a few more little connecting shadows right here where the cloth is bunching into this leather piece on the back of her neck. And her arms have a bunch of straps going a bunch of different ways, and then some more leather straps or cloth straps that hang from her wrists. So this one is, she's just got so much stuff going on. It's awesome. And then she has feathers. If you can see them here, there's white feathers that connect at the top of her glove. So I get to draw those too, and I'll have a couple little feathers peeking out back here to allude that it's on both arms, but most of the feathers on her back arm will be covered. No, unfortunately, I'm not going to be at C2E2 next year. I didn't sign up in time. Whoops. So maybe in 2019. I'm gonna have to turn it a lot. I don't know, there's a UPS truck outside my window, and we live on a hill, and we just had a massive snowfall over the last couple days, and the poor truck cannot get up the hill at all. He's spinning out so bad. Oh, he made it! Yay! Oh, Oh, David, thank you so much for coming to our booth. It's so nice of you. I haven't tried to look into seeing if the Wizard World Chicago has spots, but if the timing works, we'll look into it for sure. It's really nice that she has all these straps on her arms because then you can kind of show the direction and in the perspective to like allude as to where her arm is going and that it's going back into the page. Because sometimes when the arm is just the plain skin with no directional lines, it's a lot harder. So like even when I'm setting up a body and I'm trying to figure out and make sure that my perspective is correct, I'll actually do cylinders. I explained that when I was working on the silk one. Basically pretend that her finger has a bunch of rings on it, and then you see how the rings would move if you're trying to get it from a foreshortened angle or something like that. So having all these different lines on her gloves makes it so awesome. So she has these straps that hang over her forearms, so that's what I'm trying to show here. Oh, hey, John. Thanks for being here. Okay, now the straps overlap, so these aren't like perfect concentric rings. These are going to be kind of offset, but at least it still shows what's happening and where her arm is at and where it's going. Here's another one coming from the other side. Ooh, actually. Hey, Robert. Okay, for sure. I will post the replay on my Facebook, for sure. So you can watch it later. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good day. Thanks, Nick. So the brush, you know, for the last like 6 or 7 years, no, not quite 7 years, 6 years, I've been using a little craft brush that I poached off my kid's craft box. So it was like a little kid's paintbrush. It was probably cost less than a dime. But the brush part detached from the end, and I can't find the handle anywhere. So I just grabbed what I have, which is a Sumi brush. This is considerably more high-end than is necessary. Oh my god, that's hilarious. You thought I was snoring. It's your 3-year-old. Lol. Water break. Sorry about that noise, everyone. It's my water bottle. All right, so her hand is going away from us. So what I'm trying to do is show kind of where the wrist connects to the hand, and you're seeing it from an angle like that. So the wrist would be round in the attachment right here. So that's what I'm trying to show. And then her knuckles a little bit. And then her middle finger has the glove attached to it. So this part is still leather. So there's a couple little folds right there. And I believe this whole portion will be black. But I'm not going to put the blacking in here. I'm going to do that on the computer. Okay, I realized that this line right here needs to be turned a whole lot more in order to be in proper perspective. So I'm going to work on that now. Made a mistake. Oh, hey, Takai, it's nice to talk with you. It was great to see you again in New York. And I'm glad to hear you're drawing again. That's awesome. And you can see the bleh. I don't know what happened. I can't speak today. You can see the final piece in June of 2018 on Rose issue 12. It's a variant cover, but you can get it at any comic book store. So if you want to see it, you definitely order it. Okay, now I need to do her elbow. I'm not sure which I enjoy more. I feel more at home and more comfortable with the pencils because that's what I've been doing for the last few years. Coloring is a little bit out of my comfort zone at this point because I still, you know, I've only colored like 3 comic book covers. I think 3, maybe 4. So I'm not really in the groove with that yet, so I feel a little bit more in my happy place with what I'm doing right now. This is the fun part for me, because the hard work of figuring out where everything's supposed to go is done, and now I'm literally just putting in the final lines. So this is the fun part. Coloring, I'm not really in my comfort zone yet. I don't feel like I'm really in the zone when I'm working on coloring yet, just because I haven't gotten enough experience with it, and so I still find it a bit of a challenge. But I hope that over time I'll get more comfortable with coloring. I want to be a good colorist and do a good job, and make smart choices. But as far as, you know, lighting and coloring style and where to put the glow and all of that, but I'm still a little lost in layers and stuff. So I'm more comfortable with this. My art's like a Marvel movie. Yeah, this is the teaser trailer. I use Photoshop for coloring. I used to use Painter before, but that was like, you know, as a hobbyist and just for fun and tinkering around, but not actually for any comic work or anything like that. And I have no idea, and I wouldn't know what to say as far as which one is better. It's just Photoshop is what I'm using now. You know what? I need to check if I'm using a 2B pencil. I might be. I thought it was HB, but let's give it a look because I know my... Okay, so this is... Nope. I'm getting out my lead just to see what I'm using. All right. No, I'm using HB, so I have 0.3 millimeter lead and HB is what I have. Yeah, I press very hard, and the reason why I'm pushing so hard right now is I think that I may have had a glitch in my paper situation. I have a feeling, and this could just all be in my head, and I may very well be a gigantic princess with a P. But I think that the smooth side that I prefer to draw on happens to be on the wrong side of the paper, because I get my paper done for me. See, I'll show you. Yeah, so I get my paper custom done, and I have a feeling I got the wrong paper. I mean, the wrong side was printed on. So this side feels a little bit more textured to me. So in order to like get in all the little texture bits, I'm having to press quite hard. But again, yeah, I use the pencil as ink, and so I do work quite hard, and I use a 0.3 because it's sharp, so it can kind of really get in there with the paper. right, so I'm just putting another little halo line for myself in the coloring. I may erase it later, but it's showing me where her shoulder blade is, just as an indication. And I'll decide when I color it if I'm going to keep those two little lines right there or not. Oh yeah, I'll definitely show the process for cleaning them up, but I don't really have to do a ton of cleaning because I do a lot of it right now. So that when I scan, it's pretty much just scan and go. Sorry guys, I'm having some more internet glitches. Alright, so now I'm doing the small of her back. And I actually really checked the anatomy to make sure that this works. Like I looked at muscular structure pictures of a back so that I knew where all the muscles go. And it was just a flat on picture of the muscular structure of a back, but at least then I could look at the flat back and, you know, turn it in my head and make sure that all the muscles were in the right place and that, you know, everything was correct. So I did my best, at least, to make sure that I had all the muscular structure correct. And I actually drew out the muscular structure on her in the sketch and then lightly erased it to put in what I wanted the final lines to be. Yes, we do separate the line art from the colors. So I'll have a line art layer, and then the color layers are both below the line art, and then for glows and stuff that you want to be above the line art, you put it on a layer on top. And I'll start streaming or doing something to show coloring process as well, like digital coloring, for ones that I get permission for. Or I can release that once the piece is out or something like that. So yeah, I'm doing all the little erasing. That's what this eraser is so amazing for. I'm doing all the little cleanups and stuff that I guess could be done digitally, but I'm really picky about my final work being the final work and it looking clean and everything like that. So I kind of probably do extra steps that are not necessary, but I'm just picky like that. Okay, so she has really long black fingernails. So because of this angle, we're not going to see a ton of her fingernail, but we'll see a little bit and then it'll go off behind her back. All right, and then here's her other finger. I won't be showing every single one of her fingers, just alluding to them that they're back there somewhere. So she just has the two. And this is the back of her shoulder blade. And because of how she's pulling her arm up and everything, I'm picturing that this would be a pretty deep dip, I guess you would say, between where her shoulder, like her shoulder blade is getting pulled up with her arm. So I'm kind of making it a deep indentation here. So I am just doing a little bit of cleaning now with my eraser because it saves me time, and once I scan it, I know I'm done. Once I go to scan it, generally I don't really have any cleanup to do besides just adjusting the levels, because the scanner also sometimes picks up, you know, the shadows of the paper, or my scanner, super annoying, somehow the scanner bed, so like underneath the glass that's under it, so I can't fix it or change it or whatever, it has a scratch inside the scanner. So every single piece I scan, I have to erase out the scratch, and it's usually like up here somewhere, and it's super annoying. But it's a really good scanner, so I just deal with the scratch on the inside. I am self-taught and peer-taught. So, yes, self-taught, but I do have, I've been very fortunate that, you know, other artists in the industry have, you know, I'll ask them to give me a review of my work, or ask them what they think, and from that I've gleaned so much helpful information as far as like, okay, well, you know, in a situation like this, it would look better if you did X or whatever, and that has been my art school, and then comic books have also been my art school. So this is a cloth that's coming in front. So she has a number of different cloth flaps that are going all around. Sorry, I'm timed out for a second. Okay, so these are different flaps that are going in front of her. So she has one coming down from her neck piece that's here, and it's going over her bust, and then there's a couple more flaps that are just coming down over the front of her arm. So that's what I've got here, is I'm drawing one of the flaps that's coming from the other side of her arm. This is not an ink holder, believe it or not. This is a 0.3 millimeter mechanical pencil, and I'm using HB lead. And I'm essentially inking with a pencil. And I kind of rotate the pencil while I'm using it when I'm doing the final art. So when I'm doing like the sketch, or when I'm working on transferring the lines, I use like a duller part of the lead piece. So it's a tiny little piece of lead, but there are, like, you know, you start to chisel into the lead piece. And so for this, I twist it all the time, getting it to the sharpest point. And I kind of do that like without thinking. And I just, if it's starting to get dull, I'll twist it, or just, you know, turn it in my finger and get to a sharper spot, so it's kind of almost grooving into the paper, and that's how I ink my final lines, essentially. Oh, sorry, David, that sucks. Hey Alton, yeah, on my Facebook feed, um, on my Facebook feed, I'm just repeating it because it looked like it wasn't working for a second there. You can just go back and rewatch all the videos. So as soon as I'm done with the live, I'll post it onto my Art of Dawn McTeigue page, and then you can just watch it there. My pleasure. Thanks for wanting to go back and look at them. Oh, getting the head and body to be proportional to one another. Yeah, that's a tough one actually. I've done sketches and I'm like, oh my God, the head's too big. And it's really just eyeing it up. And then something I do is hold the piece in front of a mirror, and or if you're working on the computer, flip it on the computer or put it upside down, or do things to kind of make it viewed to you in a way that you haven't been looking at it. Sometimes, honestly, I'll snap a picture of what I'm working on with my phone, and even just that break from seeing the paper in front of you, I can see mistakes when I look at it on the phone. Like, it's just, you've got to trick your artist eye a little bit and look at it from a different perspective. Flip it, look at it in a mirror. All of those things really help to show you what it is that you're doing wrong, or if something just doesn't look right. Yes, Robert, I do the pencils as well. Technically, I'm still penciling. This is a pencil. It's just dark. All right, so right here, she has a cloth that's going from her wrist and wrapping around like this, and one strap of it is going off to the side, and this one is wrapping around and attaching behind her back, which is how I believe her pieces attach. If you see, she's got these straps. If I'm showing this correctly, yeah, she's got straps here that go behind into her back, and so I'm trying to make sure that I'm sticking as close as possible to the actual design in the comic book, to, you know, do it right and be respectful to the people who created it, and so that it's clear who it is. So that's what I'm working on, and so I am referring to it to make sure I'm doing it right. And just for anyone who's new and has just jumped on, hello, thank you for being here. What I'm working on right now is I got permission to show you some of the process of working on the final line art for a comic book cover. So this one is for Meredith Finch's series called Rose. And this is going to be a variant cover coming out in June 2018, and you can get it at your local comic book store. So if you're not following the series, you should be. It's amazing, and the art is incredible. The writing is awesome. And if you are or aren't, definitely go pick up issue 12, because that's the one I'm working on right now, and that's when you'll be able to see what the final art looks like and the final coloring. Because you're getting a sneak peek into the process, but you won't see it all. And so I've been working on this over the last couple days. Well, I didn't do any art yesterday. Family business and Christmas business. But today I'm working on finishing it up. So I submitted the layouts on Monday and she got back to me super fast, which is amazing. And then I did this sketch. So my layout was very small, but this was the layout. And then I submitted the sketch, so it's a bit more cleaned up and I've got it all figured out as opposed to just a bunch of scribbles and mushes. And then this, I transfer it on the light table. So I blow up the sketch to double size so that it fits on an 11 by 17. And then I lost my train of thought. And then I transfer it. So I kind of basically trace my lines from my sketch onto a bigger board. And then from that now, I'm going over it and adding depth to the lines, cleaning them up, making them darker, because right now they're just scribbles. And so that's what I'm working on right now. Essentially, you can think of it as like I'm inking my work, but I'm just using a pencil. Thank you, Dawn. It's nice to see you here. Oh, thank you, Brad. Thank you, Martin. I'm so glad you guys are enjoying it. It's fun to be able to answer any questions you have or just talk about art. Because I can talk art all day. Okay, so I've got a bit more of this. More of this one is in shadow because it's dark and it's under her arm. So I'm just showing that it's in a dark spot right now, or it's under something. And then if I do add any glow coming from the emblem behind, I'll lighten the lines a little bit. But for now, I'm just doing that to show depth. Oh, no problem. Have fun at work, Martin. Thanks for dropping by. Oh, thank you, Dawn. It was really fun to work on your sketch. Okay, right now I'm actually not using a pen. I am using a Alvin Draft Tech, I believe is what it's called. I got it on blickart.com. I think it cost a whopping $6. And it's a mechanical pencil, and I'm using Pentel 0.3 millimeter HB lead. So if I change my mind on the direction of where something should be, or where I'd like it to go, I just erase the lighter line. So it's really nice because once the piece starts coming together, I may change my mind on something. Yeah, I really should. Let me see if I can find my sticky notes. Okay, working with I'm just taking a second to write this. Oh, I need to put a smiley face because then it sounds like I'm annoyed. And I'm so not annoyed. I don't mind at all. There. Needs a smiley face. All right, now sometimes I change my mind on where I want something to be as I'm working on it and had a little bit more time to think about what I'm doing or where the placement of something should be. And so then I just have my little trusty eraser that I use to clean up the line work. That's why I like using a pencil. So I can change my mind. Oh, thank you, Scott. Nice to be here. Merry Christmas. I'm glad you're here. Dawn notes are going to become... Yes, just scan a dark pencil line before going straight to the computer. Yeah, I think the only cover I actually inked, and I could be wrong, but just from what I remember right now, the only cover I actually did the pencils and then inked it for real was the Justice League versus Suicide Squad issue 1 variant I did. The one with Wonder Woman and Harley Quinn in the bars. That one I did actually ink, but any other cover, I've pretty much just straight pencil to final. I don't ink them. But as you can see, I pretty much am handling the pencil as if I was inking with it. So it's really not like it's just a pencil sketch. It is final line art, and maybe sometime I will switch and start inking again. I feel like I have a lot more flexibility with a pencil, but you know, I'm always changing my methods and switching things around, trying to find something that works better or looks better or has more movement or I don't know, is a more well-received cover. So I may change my method at some point, but for right now, or for the last I don't know, years that I've been working in the industry as a cover artist, I use this pencil. I actually before used to use a much more high-end 0.3 millimeter pencil, but I found that the lead kept getting stuck in it and it was hard to get the lead out and stuff, so I switched to these ones, which are actually much cheaper, and I love them. They're awesome. Yeah, right? Okay, so the thing about this side of the page, which is going to be fun and interesting, is that there's a lot of different overlaps. And in order to show depth and which overlaps are truly on top of other ones, it's going to take some figuring to make sure I do it right, to make sure that I erase the lines underneath. Because what I usually do when I'm working, what I usually do when I'm working is I draw through. So even if something is going to be covered, I still will draw the body or the form of it underneath, and then I just erase it before the final. So before I had the lines of the cloth drawn all the way through, and now I've just erased them because I know that there's this strap right here that technically goes over it. So I'm starting in on the strap. Yes, it's all pencil. Okay, so it's turning here. Yes, Dawn, I'm actually starting to do my own colors. For years, I've been a penciler only, and wonderful Sabine and Nii and Ula Moss have, for the most part, I've worked with those wonderful, amazing girls. They're all so freaking gifted when it comes to coloring. I am not quite there yet, but I'm trying to learn. Just so that, you know, Sabine's busy, she has a lot to do, all the colorists are definitely in high demand, and so I should really learn to color my own stuff, so I've been starting. Sabine's been teaching me, which is so nice, and I know I'm very lucky that I have Sabine that's been teaching me how to color and what to do with the layers and all of that stuff. When I was working on the Lady Death Unholy Ruin Kickstarter cover, I did the pencil lines and I sent them off for flats because you get it flatted first, which means basically it's just in blocks of color so that you can select that area. Then you take it and change the colors because they're just random colors put down, and it's mostly just a selection tool. And so I got that back and it was time for me to start coloring, and I literally Skyped Sabine and was like, Sabine, I have the flats. I don't know what to do now. So she had to kind of walk me through, okay, well, you just need to start adding shade. And I'm like, oh my God. So I am very fortunate to be able to shoot Sabine a question sometimes. But yeah, I'm trying to learn so that I can handle my own coloring, and it's been really fun. And I've done a few covers that are on my own with, you know, a few Skype questions to Sabine always, because there's usually something I'm not sure about what I'm doing, but it's fun. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like the Psylocke colors. And yeah, I have been coloring my own commissions for years, but that's by hand. It's not digital, and it's the digital that I found extremely intimidating. But then once I got the Cintiq and I was kind of working with the work in front of me, that made a huge difference for me. You taught Photoshop for years? That's awesome, Dawn. Ah, shoot. I did that one wrong. Okay, so I drew through it with her body underneath so that the lines meet up properly. It would look really weird if, like, by accident, this line went here and the other one started a little bit off. Oh my god, the Cintiq is incredible. It's changed my life. That's amazing, Dawn. I had no idea. That's so cool. I've never really learned InDesign. I get really lost in it. So I have had my art books. They've all been designed by Stefan Maror, and he's a really good designer. So I've never really had to delve into InDesign because I'm just lost. Oh my god, so lost. So I'm making the lines on either side of her body to show her form thicker because I want her to stand out. There's a lot of stuff going on, but I want her, she is the main focus, so I want to make sure that she stands out, and that's why I will make the lines a little darker around her. What's my next step? No, I just scan it, and this is for a published cover, and I was given permission to show some of the final pencil process. And so my next step after this is I'm going to scan it and send it to someone who flats the work, and that's to do another layer that basically, it's like a selection tool where they fill it with color, and so then you can actually go and select on a different layer and then color on another layer, but you can always go back and get that specific piece of cloth. So it's called flatting. And so I send it off to someone who flats it, and then once I get it back, I'm gonna digitally color it. but that you'll have to wait to see when it's published. I was just given permission to show some of the process of the final pencils, which is really fun. And for anyone who's just jumping in and hasn't seen the little write-up at the top, I'm working on a variant cover for Meredith Finch's Rose, issue 12, but you can get it at your local comic book store, so make sure to order it and make sure to follow the series. It's really cool. And she's the evil lady. I'm just drawing a bad girl. And so she has lots of straps on her waist and then going all around. So I'm kind of using this strap right here to show the form of her body, in that her leg is going all the way up, and then this cloth is also kind of hitting the top of her hip, because this is lower on her hip, so she still has a bit of a hip bone before it goes up into her waist. And there's a muscle here, so I'm kind of showing that by using some of the straps to indicate where her body's going. Oh, thank you. I have so much fun drawing for Lady Death. I really, really enjoy it. She is so badass, which is really, really fun. And the whole Lady Death crew, Brian and Francisca, are such great people, and I'm even getting a Christmas box. I'm getting some goodies, and I just cannot wait. Oh, well, thank you for being here for a little while. Merry Christmas. They sure do. Have a good one, Dawn. Thanks for stopping by. Merry Christmas. Okay, so the top of this strap right here is too straight, so I need to fix that. Make it a bit more rounded. And I know I'm a little bit persnickety, and I kind of do all the erasing and cleaning now. I can and could always do a lot of this cleanup and the little erasing digitally, but I like the original to be as perfect as I can get it. Oh, thank you, Sabrina. Yeah, I need to upload them to YouTube, but then I probably have to do them landscape, and I need to figure that out. But yeah, thank you for enjoying watching these, and I definitely hope to do more of them. Meredith was very kind to allow me to show you some of the process of while I'm working on this cover, because this is her creation, this is her character, and it's for a variant cover for her book called Rose that's coming out in June of 2018. And so she's allowed me to show you some of the process and get a little sneak peek into the creation of a cover, at least the final line art of it. So I'm glad you guys can watch along. I have a large size scanner, so it can actually fit the entire piece. I used to do that where I'd scan it in parts and then splice the whole thing together, but I found myself finishing the work and then procrastinating for ages as far as scanning it, because it was such a pain to put it together. So I got myself a full-size scanner. Oh, the eraser. This is called, let me see if you can see it. This is called Mono Zero Eraser. It's by Tombow. I got this off of Amazon. It was actually something I saw Mike Chrome using, and so I did the same thing and was like, what eraser are you using? I love it. So he told me what it was, and there's two versions. There's a flat barrel one, and then there's a round barrel, and I chose the round barrel one to use. It's just the one I prefer. And it is really great for cleaning up little tiny spots. Okay, time to get into this whole part. So right here, the whole thing is turning directions, and it's going from her back and flipping around. Now, I'm breaking some rules, I'm sure, as far as how the cloth is going. But in the comic book, her cloak, it's awesome. It tends to have a life of its own. It just kind of floats around. So I'm hoping that it's good, that I'm going for it and just kind of swirling this thing all over the place and probably breaking wind rules. But it certainly helps make the piece look a lot more dynamic, and so that's what I'm doing right here, is working on the cloth and this particular turn, and I want to make sure that it gives off the proper directional whatever to show the folds that show where it's going. So here goes. Oh, thank you, Juliana. Oh, thank you, Rogerio. I'm so happy that you like my work. That means a lot, and I'm glad that you're here, and Merry Christmas to you too, or Xmas, or Happy Holidays. Okay, there needs to be some thick shadows in here because it's turning in that way and it'll help push it back. So that's what I'm going to do now. Thank you for being here, Robert. Merry Christmas. Have fun. Okay, so this part is going to be thicker, so I'm switching. I kind of hold all the pencils in my hands like this, and I am switching from the 0.3 that I was using, and I'm going to a 0.9 because I'm doing a thicker portion. And this is I believe a 2B, so it's a softer lead that's going to make the blacks darker. Oh, whoops, I was off the screen. Sorry about that. Okay. So I'll probably keep looking this over and making more adjustments as I see things I'd like to change or I get a better idea for the cloth folds. Okay, so these straps are coming from her arm right there. So her arm is further away from us than this particular cloth is at this point. So that's why they disappear here and go behind the cloth and then reappear over here. So I'm going to work on those now. And I'm going to switch to a 0.5 for these. Ah, it's too dark. I switched back to the 0.3 millimeter HB because I felt like those were too dark. I didn't like that. You know what? I'm going to leave these for now because I'm not sure I'm happy with the direction of them. I may switch them up a little bit. They might be a little too samey. So I'm going to think about that. So this is the belt portion of her skirt. It's sort of a belt that goes around and then has two long skirt flaps in the front and the back. This part is too dark, which is making it unclear whether it's part of her skirt or part of the cloth in the back. So I'm just going to make that a lot lighter and maybe do a rim light around this part. Anyway, so that's part of her skirt. And I love these little skull plates that she has. They're not a full skull, they're kind of more like an etched skull into like a circular plate thingy. At first I didn't quite notice that, and I really checked the comic book, and yeah, they're flat. They're not actual 3D skulls. They're kind of just like a giant coin, basically, you can think of. And so in my sketch, I actually realized that I did it wrong, and I actually drew straight up like mini skulls on her belt, but actually no, they're flat, pretty much. So I adjusted that because I want to make sure I'm yeah, so I just want to make sure I'm doing the right thing here. Oh, thank you, Jason. No, husband is at work. I actually have a, like a little arm thingy that's holding the phone. Thank you so much, Carl. That really means a lot. And she has like a barbed wire tattoo around this particular thigh. So that was really fun to do. I just kind of scribbled it on in the sketch and then drew it like that, and hopefully it looks correct and it's kind of in keeping with how the style it was done on in the comic book. Okay, now this is the back of her thigh. She has a bit of a bootay going on. No, Jason, this piece is available, I guess, once it's done. Thanks for your interest. It's supposed to be your name. Lol. Coloring also. Yes, I'm going to be coloring it digitally though, because this is going to be a published piece. So it's not going to be colored in Copic marker. It's going to be done digitally. And I'll work on that over the holidays just in bits and pieces. But it'll be published in June of 2018. So that's when I'll be able to show the colors and when you can see it at your comic book store. Thank you, Mark. Seeing a couple things I don't quite like. Sometimes just where my hand instinctively goes for folds and hair direction and all of that is kind of, it's too obvious, it's too symmetrical, and it just ends up not really looking natural. It looks kind of stiff and stuff, so I have to kind of try it, and if it looks too like symmetrical and even and all the lines are kind of going too stiffly, I have to erase it and start over, because sometimes the way it goes naturally to me or where I think the folds should be don't always end up looking the best. So I just need to erase it and try again. Nope, don't like that either. Okay, Jason, I will. Thank you for your interest. kind of see what I did wrong. Oh, Rudolph, this is Drucilla, and she is a character from Meredith Finch's series called Rose. You can get it at your local comic book store, and she is the queen of the land, and it's a really, really awesome series. I've caught up on it and read it, and I really enjoyed it. The art inside is super good. It's so dynamic and all these amazing angles, and it's really, really cool. The writing's amazing, and this is a cover for that series, a variant cover. Thank you. This is for the series is called Rose, and this is the villain, I think is what she would be called in this series. And Rose is the heroine. I never pronounced that right. Oh, that's awesome. You're making Christmas cookies. I want one. Which type are you making? I'm trying to think of ideas for baking stuff with my kids over the holidays. Wife's the cooking powerhouse while I scoop the chocolate chip cookies. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll probably bake some chocolate chip cookies with my kids over the holidays. I want to try the thing with phyllo dough and Nutella, and I've seen a couple of those like videos on Instagram where they show you like the sped up amazing cooking, and I want to try some of those, so it'll be fun. I'm sure I'll have some fails, but the kids will enjoy it too. Today's their last day of school. Actually, I need to pick up my daughter pretty soon. So I'm trying to wrap up this cover today, and then I'll get it off for flats, and then I'll just kind of chip away at it during the holidays because my deadline isn't for a bit yet, so I have enough time to kind of take it easy. Should make around 3,000 cookies? Are you serious? Oh my god! That's awesome! I want some. All right, filling with 0.9. It is so quiet. Sorry. I kind of started focusing and zoning out. Usually for a while I would watch Netflix. Now I listen to books so that my eyes are staying on the paper. So I'm just used to just quietly listening to books while I'm drawing. Oh well, I actually just finished the Informationist by Taylor Stevens, I believe her name is. I really liked it. That was awesome. And then I have a hold on The Princess Diarist, the Carrie Fisher book. And I'm really looking forward to listening to that. Oh, cool. I'll give them a look. Well, I'm going to need to go pick up my daughter pretty soon, so I'll probably sign off in about 5 minutes, because the snow is all over, and you kind of sled more than drive in this weather, so I need to go slow. And make sure I give myself enough time. So today is the end of the school year for December, and tomorrow starts Christmas break, so I'm really excited. It's gonna be fun. I'll probably work a little bit and then, spend time with my kids. Yeah, see, I love James Bondish stuff. I really enjoyed all the Sherlock books, so I've read all of them numerous times. For shows, I really like Blacklist and, all those kind of detective-y style stories. I don't know why. I'm a dork, but they're really fun for me. The Navigator. Okay, I'm gonna look it up. So I'm going to be done with all the final lines pretty soon, and then what I'll do is I'll just look over the whole piece and see what I need to pull forward, and then I'll make that part thicker, and I'll lighten certain lines if I feel that they need to go back a little bit more into the page. But this one's a fun one, so it's coming from behind her. You know what, I should probably put that behind her back right there. So anyway, this piece of cloth is coming from behind and then coming really forward almost at us. So that's going to give it a little bit more action and connection to us as the viewers. So that's why she's going out like that. Okay, so I'm going to go back up here and start working on her hand and the feathers. And I have a little smudge. They really bother me. Okay, so these are some white feathers that are coming off of her gloves. And because her arm is up, but the wind is also blowing that way, I've kind of got the feathers going every direction. And I gotta clean up my sketch lines. Alright, I'm not happy with how that looks. As you can see, I've got my light table propped up on a book because I'm still working on getting like an incline table. I've always worked on my couch or on the floor, or for a while I had a beanbag chair, and I've just never wanted to work at a desk. but now I kind of do want to try working at a desk. So we have the desk, and we just finished setting up all the drawers last night, but I still need to find a something to work on a bit of an incline. So right now it's just propped up on a book. Everything is still a little makeshift at the moment. Okay, well, I think I'm gonna have to leave it at that because I need to go pick up my kids from school. And I hope that you all have a very Merry Christmas. Make sure to order this from your local comic book store. Again, it is, you can see it up in the description, but it is Meredith Finch's series called Rose. It's a variant cover for issue 12. It comes out in June of 2018, and make sure to follow her series. It's incredible, and the art is amazing, and she is just a wonderful, wonderful person. And I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you for following me here and for being around for a little while. It was really fun to show you some of the process. I hope you enjoyed it, and Merry Christmas. Bye.